once again, thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar, using email drip campaigns to thank donors and raise more funds, a super relevant content as we are entering into the end of year. And we all know how important that is for our nonprofits and our fundraising efforts. So we're going to be talking about email drip campaigns, what they are, where to set them up, and how to use them to raise more funds for your nonprofit. I'm Nicole Jones from Techsoup, and we'll be kicking things off to our guest speaker in just a moment. But before we do, we're going to try this new thing here called Slido. It's a really cool tool for engagement, and we'd love to hear from you. In one word, where are you tuning in from today? And you can participate by joining in at slido.com. So go ahead and you can type that into your browser. And then you're going to use this code here, 95996. You can also take a picture with your smartphone of this QR code to enter that way. And great, I see we've got some responses coming in. We've got Atlanta, conference room. Looks like New Jersey, Seattle, St. Louis. Cool, more responses coming in. Loving this. So we'll just get a good representation of where we are in the world today. Woodstock, Georgia. Hey there, Vermont, Pennington, Oregon. So it looks like we've got a couple folks from Oregon representing California. Excellent. Let's just wait a few more moments here and see some other trends. So it looks like California is representing, in addition to Seattle. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for participating in this. And it's our first go at using Slido. And there's some other engagement tactics that you can use for your online events with Slido. You can also do interactive Q&As. So this is a word cloud. There is a free trial available. So yeah, it's a fun way to be able to gauge who we've got here on the line today. So thanks so much for participating. All right, so let's cover a little bit of housekeeping. So as you probably have noticed, we are using Zoom, Zoom webinars specifically. So that means your line is muted right now, but if you have any questions, please go ahead and enter them into the Q&A feature of the Zoom webinar panel. And if you're joining on Facebook, no worries, just go ahead and type your questions into the comment section, and we'll also be monitoring that for your questions as well. But if you are joining via Zoom, please add your question into the Q&A feature of the Zoom webinar panel. And if you miss anything today, don't fret. We're going to send an email out with the replay of this webinar, in addition to slides, links, and all the resources that we covered today. So you can go back and watch at your leisure. Okay, now with housekeeping out of the way, a little bit about Techsoup. So first of all, if you are new to Techsoup, welcome. It's great to have you here. So Techsoup equips changemakers with transformative technology solutions and skills that they need to improve lives globally and locally. And at Techsoup, we do a whole lot more than just offer discounts on software. We also provide support, training, community, and much more to help over 1 million nonprofits in over 200 countries and territories around the world. And to help make that possible are our generous donor partners that are helping us to build a technology product philanthropy program that truly serves nonprofits, libraries, and foundations across the world. You can check out all of our great offerings from our partners by visiting our nonprofit tech marketplace at techsoup.org/get-product-donations. And I'm going to include that link in chat in addition to the post-event email. So if you miss any of this and other links that come up throughout the presentation, don't worry, we'll make sure to include it in your chat and in your email so you won't miss it. All right, now I am super pleased to welcome today's presenter. He is a Techsoup webinar fan favorite. It's Adam Walker. He is CMO at TechBridge and co-founder of 48 in 48. And he's going to share a little bit more about his background in just a bit. So at this point, I'm super pleased to welcome Adam, and I'll let you take it from here.
Oh, thanks so much, Nicole. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I'm really excited to share this with all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and pull up my slide deck. I hope everybody's having an excellent day so far. So this is going to be fun. My goal, as is true with all of the webinars and trainings that I lead, is to take about the first 30 minutes and just kind of go through some basics, give you some high-level things. I've also got a download that's going to be really helpful to you as you prepare your own drip email campaigns. And then in addition to that, I want to take a lot of time to do Q&A at the end. So I'll kind of run through everything. And please make sure to type your questions in the Q&A section. And then we will have plenty of time for Q&A at the end of this. It's going to be great. So let's get started. This is going to be fun. Oh, I got to find my screen. There we go. All right. I'm Adam Walker. Yes, I do always wear a fedora. It's what I'm known for. I'm also known for locking my computer. Hold on. So sorry. I'm also known for having lots of kids. So this is my family. My husband first, father of 6. You might notice there's only 5 kids in the picture. That's because we are adopting from China. We're actually adopting an 11-year-old from China and have been waiting ever since COVID started to go and get him. We thought we would travel to get him in April, and obviously not so much. So I'm working on learning Mandarin, and we're going to go get him really soon. I also, in addition to my work at TechBridge, I host several podcasts. If you'd like to check them out, would love to have you do that. Tech Talk Y'all is my podcast about technology news. While Daring Greatly is about leadership and what I'm learning. And Real Pink is the official podcast from Susan G. Komen. So if you'd like to stay up to date with breast cancer research and how you can support the breast cancer community, I host that as well. All right, another few things that I'll mention because it's important to me. I do have a nonprofit marketing technology newsletter. There's a link right there on the screen for Bitly. It's bit.ly/NP-MAR. Also, if you're a nonprofit that finds yourself in need of a free marketing website, a small free marketing website, you can apply to get one through 48 and 48, which is the nonprofit that I co-founded that builds free marketing websites for nonprofits. And if you are a nonprofit that help, I would encourage you to check out techbridge.org. That is where I'm CMO, and I love the work that we're doing with nonprofits on that front as well. So I'll leave that up for 2 more seconds, just in case you want to take a look at those links, and otherwise you can catch the links later on. All right, let's get into the basics here. This is going to be great. What is a drip campaign? It's actually, it may seem very mysterious, but in fact, a drip campaign is really quite simple. It's a communication strategy that sends pre-written, pre-scheduled, that's important, messages or drips over time to remain in contact with people, or in this case, with donors. So imagine, for the sake of this discussion, the way I would think about a drip campaign is someone gives to your nonprofit through your website. That's great. But now we want to follow up with those people. And so what does that follow-up look like? So what I would imagine is they get a thank you email the first day. Maybe a week later, they get another email that says thank you. And by the way, this and this and this, and we're working in these areas. Maybe the next month they get another email just updating them on progress and what's going on with your nonprofit. Maybe 2 months later, they get another email. And it's just a way of staying in touch. We're going to get into more details about that later, but that ultimately is what a drip campaign is. And all this is completely automated. So this is not something that you're actively doing for every donor. It's a system that's set up that is completely and totally automated. So why email, right? That's the other question is, we're talking drip campaigns are via email. Why do we care about email? Well, we care about email because Mailchimp has shown that nonprofits on average have a 25.17% open rate for their email. That is really, really good. It may not sound good, but that's really, really good. And I'll tell you why in just a minute as we get into some comparisons. But just know that email is actually still an amazing way to stay in touch with people. It's still an amazing way to stay top of mind. It's a really, really important platform to be using. So again, why does it matter? I got ahead of myself. It matters because we want to stay top of mind with our donors. If somebody donates to your nonprofit, clearly they value your nonprofit and they want to engage with your nonprofit. And therefore, staying top of mind to that donor is going to be critical over time so that you can continue to maintain that relationship. Next, everybody uses email. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody uses email. My kids use email for elementary school. Grandparents use email, and everybody in between uses email. Not everybody uses all of social media. And lest we kind of think, oh yeah, but we're going to get more bang for our buck on social. The reality is on Facebook, when you post, your posts are seen by 5 to 10% of your followers. That's it. 5 to 10% of your followers see your Facebook posts versus 25% of your email subscribers opening your email. So that's a significant email than on social media. Now, don't get me wrong. I think both are really important, and you need a strategy for both. And I've done webinars for both, but I'm telling you, email gets a bad rap, and it's very, very important. So email drip campaigns can help you develop loyal donors, because again, a one-time donor is great, but a two-time donor, a three-time donor, a monthly donor is so much better. It helps you expand your reach. So by sending out emails, maybe those donors forward your emails to other friends because they're relevant to what's going on in the world. They're relevant to what's going on in their community or in their lives. So you can begin to expand that list. And lastly, it helps you increase donations because you're not just passively receiving a donation, but now through a drip campaign, you are actively engaging with that donor on a regular basis to foster and maintain a relationship. And that will always, it's always going to result in better relationships and hopefully in more donations to help your nonprofit. So how do we think about drip campaigns? I think about a drip campaign like keeping in touch with old and distant friends. So I'm going to use the example of Superman and Batman, because obviously they're kind of like frenemies, right? Like that, like they're kind of like that old distant friends. Sorry, I have a weird sense of humor, so if you don't get it, I apologize. But there, I see in my imagination, Batman and Superman are sort of like distant, sort of send an email every once in a while, stay in touch. How are things going in Gotham? I think you're kind of okay, sort of friends. And that's kind of how we want to treat our donors. Like, you can't hit them with an email every week because that's going to scare them off. Like that, nobody wants to be emailed every week or every day by somebody. That's just crazy. But at the same time, you don't want to email them just once a year, because then you're really not staying in touch. You're not top of mind. You're not really connecting. So you want to kind of pretend that they're like that college roommate that you really value and love and really want to be connected to, but maybe you don't want to live next door to them, right? So they're kind of that category of person. And that's who you want to continue, like that's the type of relationship you want to foster. And then I would ask you too, what's the value of a long-term donor? Because we tend to think about individual donations in terms of 1, 2, 3-time increments, but what's the value of somebody that is consistently giving to your organization, that's consistently supporting your organization with their funds or with their time or with their social impact? It's a huge amount of value. And so if you can foster these relationships, if you can build these relationships, then you can maintain and you can create long-term value and long-term value for you and for the donor. Okay, so I don't want to be too high level, so I'm going to try to walk you through the basics of how to get started. I think that's going to be important. And then we will get to QA, and that's going to be fun. So how to get started? You got to start by capturing information. You can't set up a drip campaign if you don't have email addresses. So that's number one. Capture email addresses however you can. If somebody's sending you a check and you can somehow get an email address with that check, get an email address and add it to your list. If you can create a form on your website that automatically captures the email addresses and automatically adds them to a platform like Mailchimp or ActiveCampaign or Campaign Monitor, like we'll talk about later, that's great. Use those. But whatever you do, you've got to start capturing email addresses. You've got to have a list. Got to build the list. Next, get the right info, because you don't only want their email address. Email address is the most important by far. So if all you're going to do is, if you're only going to get one piece of information, get an email address, and that's fine. It's good enough. You'll see later that I'm capturing just an email address on my own website. But for the sake of this, if you can, get their name, get their email, get their company, and get their title. And what that helps you to do is it helps you to understand, is this an individual person that's only ever going to support my organization at an individual level? Or is this a person that we could possibly build a relationship with, that could build into a bigger relationship and a bigger and a bigger and a bigger relationship, and could potentially bring their organization in to help support my nonprofit? So Great example of that from my own experience. I co-founded 48 and 48. I mentioned that earlier. 48 and 48, we're a nonprofit. We host hackathon events to do a 48-hour event to build 48 free websites for nonprofits. And we had somebody come to one of our events from State Farm years and years ago, and she loved it. And then she came to another event, and then she came to another event. And then she started volunteering for all our events, and even to the point where she was driving 15 and 16 hours to go to events just to help us put the events together. And ultimately, because of her, State Farm ended up becoming a sponsor of 48 and 48 and is one of our very largest sponsors and an amazing supporter. We've even had State Farm only events just for 48 and 48. So there's great opportunity there if you're thoughtful about it. And then the last thing I would say to you is segment your list. And so one big list is great. But if you can begin to segment that list and understand what people care about, that's much, much, much better. And so what I mean by that is, for example, if somebody goes to a page about poverty and they donate from the page about poverty, then you know they're interested in alleviating poverty. And therefore, you can add them to an alleviating poverty segment in your list. And maybe you should consider sending a specific email to that specific list segment about alleviating poverty. So the more you can do to segment your list, the more you can do to customize your list, the more you can thoughtfully connect with your supporters and engage with them and foster that deeper relationship. All right, so how to write a drip campaign. So this is tricky because writing, everybody can write, but not everybody can write well. And so you have to go in it very, very, very thoughtfully. So these are the three areas that I recommend that you focus on. What to write. Updates. Tell people about your organization. Tell them how their initial donation is being used to accomplish your mission. It doesn't have to be explicit. Your $10 did this specific thing. It can be your $10 helped us to go in this direction, right? But help connect those dots between the money that's coming in and the good work that's being accomplished on behalf of that donation. And ideally, how that money is being amplified and expanded to do more good in the world. That's number one. People love to get updates. Number two, education. So educate your donors about the areas that you work within. If you're a dog shelter, then talk to them about what to look for when adopting a dog. Educate them on different types of dogs for different types of personalities. Educate them on, if they want to exercise a lot and want a dog that can go on a jog with them, what types of dogs to consider, right? Educate them if you're a nonprofit that deals, again, in alleviating poverty, educate them on the statistics around poverty and around how poverty is being alleviated and showcase some examples of work that's being done. But use it as a tool to equip your donors with more information about things that they care about, okay? And then lastly, impact. Emphasize the impact your work is having on the world. Connect your impact directly to their support. This it can never be stressed enough. As a nonprofit, we've always got to come back to impact. Why are we doing what we're doing? What's the impact of what we're doing? And that impact can be local, so you can focus in on one changed life, and that's a significant story that's really important. This is so-and-so, we did this and this and this, we got them here, we've helped educate them here, and now they're doing it. Like, that's a great story. But then you can also think about impact as a group, a small group, or large group impact. So you can tell the story from an individual perspective, from a small group perspective, or from a large group perspective. All of them are valuable from a storytelling angle, but you definitely want to talk about your impact. All right, so if you don't take away anything else I say, take a screenshot of this, because this is where I see nonprofits making the biggest mistakes in their marketing. Great marketing provides value 80% of the time and makes asks 20% of the time. And here's what I mean by that. No one likes to follow the nonprofit, or no one likes to follow the social entrepreneur, or no one likes to follow the whatever they call themselves, the influencer on Instagram that's constantly saying buy, give, me. Nobody likes to follow those people. The people that we care about, the people that we like to follow, the brands that we love to follow are the ones that provide value to our lives. And that value can come in a lot of different forms. It can be they make us smile. There's value in someone making you smile. There's value in making someone smile. It could be that they're giving us education. It could be that that what we read from them makes us feel good because we're a part of that movement. It could be there's 100 different ways, 1,000 different ways to provide value to people. But as a nonprofit, we have to make sure we're providing value 80% of the time, and that 20% of the time we're saying, and please donate, and please give so that we can do more good, and please buy this t-shirt, and please sign up for this event, and please, that's got to be 20% of our work. So please, if you're going to take away anything, please take that away. That's the most important thing I'm going to say to you today. Take a screenshot, whatever you got to do, but 80% value, and then asks 20% of the time. All right, so now let's make a plan. We're nearing the Q&A section, by the way, and I can get into as many specifics as you want during the Q&A section. But let's make a plan. Start by making a list. Make a list of all the topics that you may want to contribute to a donor or communicate to a donor over the next 10 months. So think about any topic that you might want to communicate to a donor. Maybe it's upcoming events. Maybe it's stories of impact. Maybe it's that you've got Giving Tuesday coming up and you want to make sure that they know about it. Maybe it's that you want them to do a Facebook fundraiser for you and give them the step-by-step instructions of how to do that. But think about all the different things you could possibly say to a donor and make a list, okay? Next, start grouping items on that list together. What are the common themes? Are several of those items mission related where you could create one email only about mission and why that mission is so important? Are there like items that are maybe similar to timeframes and you could create like a whole spring themed email or something like that? But group all of your like items together and start to think, are there some common themes here where you can begin to create content around these things, right? While you're doing that, keep consistent. Like, even though you're going to talk about different things, keep consistent. Make sure you're hitting the same points over and over. Make sure you're tying into the same mission over and over. Make sure you're talking about impact over and over and over again. Make sure that donors understand why you're doing what you're doing and how you're doing it over and over and over again. And don't forget to ask, right? Donors gave once. If they gave once, there's no reason to think they won't give again. Never forget to ask again. So make sure every email communication includes a link to your donation page. And it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a bold ask, give today. I want you to give $20 today. It doesn't have to be that. But it could be, hey, we want you to know how much we appreciate your support. If you would like to continue your support with us, here's a link to our donation page. It can just be very simple. It can be very passive ask, a very soft ask. It doesn't have to be in your face, but it's important that a reader understands how they can continue to support and why that's important to your organization. All right, so let's get to writing. So I'm going to give you some writing tips here. I think this is another important page or screen. This may be the second most important screen in this talk here. So first of all, you need to map all of this out in one document. Don't map it all out in an email program. You need to map all of this out in one document. I'm telling you, I have written probably 30 or 40 drip campaigns across various platforms, and it's always most helpful to create one master document and to map it all out in that one master document, collaborate with my team on it, and then take it from that document and put it into a platform. So I've created a master document for you. I've created a template for you. It's right there on the page, bit.ly/np-drip. And you can just see the link right there. But if you go there and you sign up for my nonprofit marketing newsletter, sorry, I put it behind the gate there. I know, but I'm trying to build my own list as well. But if you sign up for my email marketing newsletter, then you'll immediately get access to two links right there on that same screen. One is for a Word document, the other's for a PDF. And I'm happy to even show you that PDF at the end of this call. If you'd like to do that during the Q&A, I'm more than happy to do that. So a little more advice around this: subject lines. Make them short, make them clear, make them engaging. If your personality allows it, make them pithy, make them funny, add an emoji, make them interesting. They've got to capture people's attention. Next, Write in concise segments. I beg you, write in concise segments, please. People scan. Very few people read in depth. Very few people read in depth. They scan. And so you should have very short segments all down your emails to let people know, short paragraphs, short segments, separated with large headings to let people know where to scan to let people know where to read to. Please write in concise segments. It will make your life 1,000 times easier. It will make your readers more engaged. Okay, next one. I'm gonna beg you on this one too. No buzzwords, no buzzwords, no buzzwords, no buzzwords, no jargon. In nonprofit world, it's very easy to slip into jargon and buzzwords. I've done it. I know you've done it. We've all done it. But the reality is that our donors don't live in our world. Our donors don't have the conversations that we have. They don't have the depth of knowledge that we have. And so we cannot use buzzwords or jargon of any kind in our newsletters. We need to keep our language simple and direct. That makes it easier to scan, it makes it easier to read, easier to engage with, and it will be much more impactful. And last, again, I'm going to come back to it again. Start with impact, end with next steps. Start with impact, end with the next steps. You got to make sure that you're focusing on your impact and what are your next steps. Okay, that's going to be critical in your writing process. A couple of recommendations for tools to get started. There are many, many, many tools out there. The first two are two that I have firsthand knowledge of and think are great. Mailchimp, first of all, is free until you get to, I want to say 2,000 subscribers or something like that. You can do drip campaigns for free. You can do email newsletters for free. You can do landing pages for free. There's a ton of stuff you can do for free with Mailchimp. It's great. There's a ton of tutorials on how to do it too. It's easy to use. You can get started today. If you're looking for a free option, Mailchimp is great. ActiveCampaign is fantastic for more complex integrations, more complex website integrations. It's a full client relationship management. That's the CRM, client relationship management software as well. And it has the drip campaign component. Also, you can do newsletters. If you're willing to spend a little bit of money and you're thinking long-term, I think ActiveCampaign could be a really powerful, powerful tool. Another super common one that I have zero firsthand knowledge of, but I put in here because I used some of the research in some of my research, is Campaign Monitor. It's been around for a long time. It's got a great reputation. It may very well be worth you considering to use. So those are a couple of tools that I recommend. So now I'm gonna put this up. This is the contact me link. I'm gonna leave that up. It's got my drip campaign template link. It's got my nonprofit marketing newsletter link. It's got my website. It's got my email address. And I'm going to pull up the Q&A and see if I can start rolling through that, which is going to be lots of fun. So, all right, first question. If you already have their emails, how do you ask them for permission to opt in and in a follow-up email? Ooh, man, that's a really good question. So I think if you already have their emails, and I'm assuming based on how your question's worded, you have their emails, but they have not opted in to be a part of your newsletter or a part of your drip campaign. So I think in that particular case, you can do one of a couple things. You can first send them like a personalized email, a one-time email campaign that just says, hey, would really love for you to opt in to receiving more emails from us. Would you consider doing that? Please click here to do that. And by clicking on that link, they're now opting in. That's one option. Another option that's probably not as good of one is to just sign them up. I don't recommend that because that technically would be against the sort of email guidelines. So I think your best bet is to create a campaign to ask them to opt in and then go from there. Next question. I know personalizing emails by name is really important, but it's hard. Spouse A is the one who donated, but the email is spouse B at email. Can I personalize the email? As Dear Spouse A and Spouse B? What are the unwritten rules? So, man, that's a tough question. So really you have to assume that a name matches an email address and only personalize it to one name to that email address. I don't know that there's any better way to do it. If you try to do anything else at all, you're going to end up making a mistake, and you're going to end up it's going to cause you more problems than it's worth. So I think you have to assume like my email is adam@adamjwalker.com. You have to assume first name's Adam, go from there, or you just don't personalize it at all. But to your point, personalizing is certainly the better choice if at all possible. Next question, should we be drafting and sending these emails out as a newsletter format or as a personalized mail merge, i.e. Mailchimp versus regular email? So I'll tell you this, there is a place and a time for styled HTML emails. I think newsletters are fine for that. Personally, my method on drip campaigns is not. I prefer plain text. Plain text emails actually tend to get a little bit of a better open rate, a better read rate, a better response rate. They come across to the end user as being more personal and therefore are better received. So I think on a drip email campaign specifically related to donors, I think you're better off making it as close to plain text as possible. That would be my preference. Let's see. I've not communicated with my donors since COVID hit, and I'm getting ready to do a year-end ask. Should I send out an email now letting them know that we have survived and what good we're doing before the year-end ask? We are a tutoring center providing support to area students. So yes, I think the sooner you can send out a communication showcasing the work that you're doing before you do an ask, the better. I think if you're doing a year-end ask, and I assume you mean year-end at this point, probably about actual calendar year-end, then I think sending out a letter now would be really important. I think sending out maybe another communication around Giving Tuesday, asking for a donation, and then a final year-end ask donation would be great. So yes, I think the more communication opportunities, the better there would be great. Let's see, next question was, all right, if the 80-20 rule about value and asks is true, what advice do you have for performance nonprofits? Let's see, I've never considered that buying tickets to a show would be considered an ask. Do performances count as asks or value? That's a really good question, Carl. I think it's going to be case by case. I think that to me, the 80-20 rule is about the spirit of it, right? So it's a question of if somebody's going to be genuinely excited that you have now posted and they can buy tickets to an event, then obviously that's providing value. Like they're excited about an event, they're buying tickets to an event. That would fall to me on somewhat of the value side. However, there aren't a whole lot of people that go, oh man, I'm being asked for $20 again. Like they don't get excited by that. They might do it because they feel good about it, but that would be more on the 20% side, I think, in my opinion. How long should each email be with or without graphics? So personally, I try to keep my emails pretty short and very, very to the point. I think with all of our marketing, the more short and to the point we are, the more effective it tends to be. For drip campaigns, typically do not include graphics, or if I do, it's simply a logo and that's about it. Maybe one or two graphics towards the end of it just to see if that is a little bit more effective. But typically I'd keep it very simple, plain text, relatively short and to the point. And again, think in terms of very short paragraphs to make it really easy to read. Let's see, should we be drafting? Oh, no, sorry, that was already asked. Okay. Oh, does Constant Contact have drip campaign capability? I would be shocked if it did not. To be quite honest, I have not been on Constant Contact in many years, so I don't know, but I feel certain they have to have that capability. Can you give some specific examples of jargon or buzzwords, please? Oh man, that's a tough one. I think rather than examples, I would answer this way. Your email should be understandable by a middle schooler. So if a middle schooler can read your email and does not have to say, what does development mean? Or what do, like, or for example, like, what does, I don't even know what other buzzwords we might use, but what does that mean? Like, then you're good. If it's clear enough for a middle schooler, it's clear enough to go out to your general audience. I think that's I would turn the tables and phrase it that way. Is there ever a time that multiple emails in a short time is the way to go? For example, Giving Tuesday, having multiple emails in the week leading up. Yes, absolutely. There are times when I think that is warranted. You just have to be careful that you don't overdo it, and you have to know your audience well enough to know that you're not going to overdo it. So I think one, two, maybe even 3 emails in a week for a very short period of time might be fine. Just be very cautious that you don't overuse that privilege, because you don't want to see people opting out of your email campaigns. Let's see. I assume that a drip campaign is a first-time donor to your website and is different for a repeat donor. How do you separate them out and create different streams? So really good question. That's going to really entirely depend on what systems you're using. If you're using like a deep Salesforce thing, that's going to give you options. If you're using Mailchimp, that's going to give you options. ActiveCampaign, same thing. Typically, with most of those systems, you can set it up where if that person is not already in your database, then they go into one campaign, one drip series. If they are already in your database, then they would go into a different drip series that would be phrased a slightly different way. And that way you can sort of differentiate the two. But again, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. Is it okay if all the emails come from the same person? Absolutely, yes. They can all come from the same person, preferably someone that's recognizable. Personally, for me, I like to have my name on the email, but typically I'll make the from email like an info at, and that allows more people than just myself to monitor that email account and respond with questions and whatever else. And it's typically pretty well received that way. Do nonprofits need to worry about charitable solicitation registration state by state when sending drip campaigns? Donors may live all around the US in different states. So Erica, that's a really great question. And to be quite frank, it's one that I do not have a direct answer to. What I would tell you is this, that if someone has donated and they've given you their email address and they've been presumably in doing that have given you permission to reach out, I don't see why you'd have any problem reaching out, but I would encourage you to look at the regulations state by state if you'd like to do that, because I'm certainly no lawyer by any stretch of the imagination. All right, let's see. Somebody said they liked the template I mentioned, and yes, there is a PDF with the template. So if you go to that link, I think it's sharing on your screen. Oh, no, we're back on a different screen. I'll flip back. But if you go to that link there at the top, you can grab that template. All right,
it's in the chat
it's in the chat
for easy access.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. Wonderful. All right, let's see, we have 5,000 contacts in our mailing list, but only 300 common donors. Can we use Mailchimp only for drip campaigns for the 3,000 common donors? So technically you can use Mailchimp for drip campaigns for whatever you would like. You could use it for all your contacts or for segments of your contacts. Just make sure that you are emailing people that have opted into your communications and that you're not in any way abusing your opportunity to communicate with them. Let's see, is there a way to incorporate text with emails to increase opening emails? You can. I would say this about text campaigns. You can do text campaigns. Text campaigns and email campaigns are very, very different things, and they're used for very different purposes. And depending on your audience, text campaigns are not going to be nearly as well received. So I'll just tell you personally, if a nonprofit starts texting me and I have not opted into being texted by them, I'm going to be opting out instantly. That's just me personally. I don't like to text with people that I don't know. That I would imagine there's a good segment of the public that feels that way. So just be very careful about that. When I've seen text work well is more around events and auctions and things like that that are time specific. And in those scenarios, text campaigns have worked really well. All right, how do you get emails to start with? Susan, so that's a great question. Couple of options for building your email list, and that really could be a webinar in and of itself. But to start with, I would be capturing them on your website. I would be posting things on social to lead back to capture email addresses on your website. I would consider, really it's all about creating great content. So if you can create great content with your emails, then ideally people would sign up to get that content and to support your organization. Honestly, as a nonprofit, you can pretty simply say, hey, listen, we really want to build up our email list in support and growth of our organization. Would you please go sign up to receive our emails? We promise we won't spam you. You can make a joke out of it, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Let's see, all right. Somebody said, I'm just curious why 10 months time frame for the campaign. So my thinking 10 months is a good time frame simply because hopefully they're gonna, if they give, let's say they give on Giving Tuesday, and you stay in touch over the next 10 months, and then Giving Tuesday comes around again after that, and they sort of get back into the sequence. There's no magic number to giving to 10 months. Honestly, there's no statistics behind that particular number for me. I just think it's a good time period over which to keep in touch with people and not to be overly obnoxious for a long period of time. So it's kind of, to me, that balance. But make it 12 months if it makes more sense to you, or even 18, and spread it out over the course of time. I think it's really a question of whatever makes sense to you and to your donors. What about sending a survey to current newsletter list about preferences for engagement to create a segmented list? Yes, I love that. That is a fantastic way to segment your list. So essentially the question is, how do you segment the list? If you have a generic email list, how can you segment it? A great way to do that is to say, hey, would you take a quick survey? And in that survey, ask them what they care about, and then use what they care about to then segment out your list, which is a fantastic way to do that. That would be great. How many is too many emails over what time frame? That's a really good question. I think probably the most you would want to do is now, in a drip campaign is actually a little different from like a newsletter, but I would say in general, more than one a week is going to be too many. Too few is going to be one a quarter. I think you've got to figure out what the balance is for your organization in between those two. So for example, with TechBridge, and I would love for you to check out our email newsletter, though you'll be able to sign up on our new website in about 2 weeks. It's not available on our current website right now, but on that newsletter, we've got several thousand subscribers, and we send it out every 10 days, and it works out really, really well. Our open rates are great, and engagement rates are great.
Hey, Adam, picking up some sound from your mic, just as a heads up. I think we some rubbing sounds.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm used to doing this in my studio with my boom mic, and I could not be in my studio because of storm damage. So apologies there. All right. Good. In a typical drip campaign of yours, how far do you typically space emails? 1 week, 1 month, 6 months? Great. And you see that I've already answered that, right? So it depends. I start off more consistent and then space it out over time, personally. All right, let's see. Want to know about 5 to 7 emails over 10 months. What about other emails? Yes. Bear in mind, this is specifically, I've been talking about, I was recommending 5 to 7 emails over a longer period of time to follow up in a drip campaign from donors. So these are emails that are going to be designed to further engage your donors over time. I think other emails are great. I think having a regular newsletter in addition to this is great and very important. So I think, yes, you should be doing other types of emails that these people may or may not be engaged in. But yes, that would not be your only email. All right, let's see. Typed in the link on the screen, the address does not come up. Oh, as you said, the bit.ly link does not come up. Okay. Well, I'll have to look into why you can also, I'll look into that at the very end of this call if you want to hang tight for just a second. So I'll look at the
bit.ly link. Tested it, and it worked for me in the chat, but I'll include it again. They all were working. So
okay, we'll make sure in the follow-up email that goes out that everybody gets the proper link, even if that's a different one, if we have to. How about that? Does that work? Great.
Perfect.
All right. Is there a place to get help with creating a newsletter and maintaining it? That's from Margaret. So yes, I would say you could look in your local marketing community. You could look for agencies that specialize in nonprofits. You could look, for example, you can even look on Fiverr to find freelancers that might be able to help you. The tricky part, there are plenty of people that can do that work. The tricky part is finding the good ones. And sometimes you just have to look around until you can find the right one that's a good fit for your organization. Let's see. All right. See, somebody asked how long before I provide the link to the, to the drip campaign. The drip campaign, actually, once you signed up, the link to the drip campaign template should have come up right on your screen. If it did not for some reason, if you just want to shoot me an email to adam@adamjwalker.com, I'll be happy to email you back those files. So if anybody does not get the links for some reason, just let me know and I'll be happy to email that to you directly. Okay, Nicole, are you seeing any other questions you want to call out?
See, I think you've covered a lot of good ground here, Adam. We do have time for a couple more questions. So if you want to kind of keep looking if there are any other ones, otherwise we can start to wrap things up. So I'll defer to you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm looking in the questions field here. Has anybody got, let's see, one more question. Traditional mail, one more question, traditional mail versus email drip. It's a great question. I think if it were me, I would start with an email drip campaign to donors because that's probably your easiest and most direct win in the sense that an email drip campaign to donors, if you're not doing any email right now, setting up an email drip campaign to donors will be more than likely to bring in more revenue to your organization over time. And therefore that is where I would start. And then after that, I would look at sort of the more typical Mailchimp email newsletter approach, I think. That's how I would think about it. Somebody else asked, any input on Boomerang? Do they have drip campaigns? I think, is that Bloomerang? I'm not familiar with that. I'm familiar with Boomerang, that's a part of Gmail, but not Bloomerang. So I'm not sure about that. Is there standard language for OPT in statements? Or for opt-in? I read it as OPTN. I'm so sorry. Is there a standard? Susan, that's a great question. I honestly don't know. I mean, for me, it's usually a very simple, by submitting your email, you're opting into my newsletter. I think as long as it's clear that they're opting in by doing it, then you're in the clear there. All right, let's see if there's any other questions.
How about this question from Erica? Would you send drip campaigns to corporate sponsors as well as donors?
Oh, that's a great question. I would cautiously say yes, with a few caveats. So number one, it would need to be a drip campaign that is specific to corporate sponsors and kind of speaks to their needs as opposed to an individual donor. I think it could be really helpful in keeping them connected. You just need to be sure that it doesn't come off as impersonal because they do want that connection. They do want to feel valued. And so you just need to make sure that the way that you write the campaign is that you're very personally connected. So I think that'd be really, really important. So that'd be great. Oh, hey, Jim, I see your question about you were at the super service event in Miami for 48 and 48. That's fantastic. I hate that I wasn't able to go to that one, but I'm glad. I heard it was an amazing event. So thanks for being there. All right. Any other questions? Any other ways I can help? Let's see. Oh, a few more that popped in.
Can you clarify? Maybe if you see that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can you clarify the relationship between newsletter and drip campaign? Can newsletter be a part of the drip campaign or are they separate? So I would say those are two separate things. So a newsletter is going to be more of an engaging publication that your organization is putting out on a regular basis to your audience. So for us, for example, for TechBridge, we put out a newsletter every 10 days or so. And if any of you want to be signed up for that newsletter, feel free to just email me at adam@adamjwalker, and I'll be happy to I'll just drop your emails into that newsletter list. But with TechBridge, we use it as an opportunity to engage. We kind of use some like sort of pithy sort of language to sort of make people smile. We use it as a way to showcase our sponsors. So for example, today in the newsletter that's about to go out, we did a little quiz and we said, hey, we've got these 3 sponsors and what year did they start? For example, it was kind of fun. And then we also use it as a chance to update and showcase our impact. So that's a newsletter is a very broad overview. A drip campaign is going to be significantly more targeted based on where people are entering the campaign. So that's going to be more around, so if it's individual donors, it's going to be speaking more to the individual donor, more to where their dollars are going, how it's being used, that sort of thing. So I would definitely consider them to be 2 separate things. And somebody asked, but the screen back on the recommended email groups. Yeah, I can switch back to that for a second. So Mailchimp and Active Campaign are certainly my favorites there. I'm sure that there are many more out there, but so from my limited knowledge, those are two really, really great ones.
Excellent. Still see some questions about the links that were sent out to the templates. We'll make sure, again, we get those corrected and they are in the follow-up email. So you'll definitely have them there.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's probably my mistake there.
Oh, good. All good. So I think at this point, we can start to wrap things and I will take it from here. So, Adam, you shared so many fantastic resources. Thank you so much. Again, we'll be including those resources in our follow up email, but just want to make sure y'all know about our community forum where you can continue this conversation specifically about email drip campaigns. I did include a link in the chat for the community forum on this conversation specifically. Again, we'll include that in our follow-up email as well, but a really good place to get some peer-to-peer support too on email drip campaigns. And a couple other notes as we wrap here. So we also have some additional resources from TechSoup that you can access to become an email marketing superhero. And specifically, we have this course on email marketing for nonprofits and a library bundle. It's self-paced and it covers 101, 201, all the way up to 204, how to stand out in your audience's email inbox. It is a $200 course. It takes about 10 to 12 hours. Again, self-paced, at your leisure. Such a great value and an even greater value because we're offering 10% off when you use this code FY20Web10. So I'm going to add the link to this course in the chat and also with the code. And again, we'll include that in the follow-up email. So you've got that handy. So bear with me while I do that. Juggling multiple things there. Here we go. Now fresh in your chat box. All right. So definitely consider this course. And I should also say that code, the FY20Web10, is good for any TechSoup course. So you can get 10% off any TechSoup course of your choosing. We've got tons of different offerings. So definitely make sure you peruse our catalog there. And a couple other things. So we've got we have actually quite a few events coming up. So we've got a TechSoup tour on November 10th. And this is a really great place if you want to see what we're offering and specifically for Cyber Week, all the discounts that we have, some really great November 10th. And then we have a really cool event coming up November 11th with, I'm going to share more information on a separate slide in just a moment, but it's called TechSoup's Tech Tips Digest. So we'll share more in just a bit here. And then another event we have is November 12th, all about delighting donors with design tips from Adobe Spark. So we're going to cover how to create some assets for social media, super easy using Adobe Spark. So that's going to be a really great one, a really important tool to use for your end of year fundraising. And you can sign up for these events by heading on over to techsoup.org/community-events. There you'll see the registration pages for these events and for other events, and also for all of our past events that we have hosted at TechSoup. You can view the replays and you can also see the slides and the transcripts. We make it super easy for you. And as I mentioned, we have this event November 11th. It's TechSoup's Tech Tips Digest, and it's going to be jam-packed with tips from probably we'll do some more things on email marketing, on fundraising for sure, but we'll have 10 presenters in 2 hours doing 20-minute lightning talk. So again, it's going to be jam-packed with practical information, real tips from some excellent presenters. And you can sign up over at events.techsoup.org. You'll see the registration page there for that. We'll also include that in the post-event email, and I'll add that to chat in just a sec here. And just want to thank you again for joining us, and to Adam for, again, just always being at the ready with some really great information for our community. Thanks so much for being here with us.
It's my pleasure.
And if you can please take our survey, you will be redirected to that survey as you X out of Zoom. And I'm going to try to include that into chat real quick if I can find my screen, the screen that I need with that. Otherwise, just please, once you X out of Zoom, make sure that you follow it to that survey, which should be pretty self-explanatory. But we really appreciate you all being here. We look forward to seeing you at another TechSoup event. Thanks so much, and stay safe, be well. Adam, once again, thank you. We'll see you around. And I'm just going to stay on the line here to get those links that I promised you all. So hang tight. And if you have any other questions, we'll all be here for just another minute or so as I find that link. Okay, the joys of multitasking. Here we go. Here's the survey link. And then I will also include a link to our community events page. There we have it. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.